is immensely powerful for self-care. Hi all, I just wanted to welcome you to this session today, Herbal Pleasure Potions, Making Summer Drinks. Appreciating your patience with my late start. I have a list of drinks that I want to make with y'all today. Drinks that I'm really excited about. I primarily use drinks and teas as my medicine source. Other than that, I definitely use tinctures daily for kind of baseline medicine, but the teas and the fermented drinks are more pleasurable for me. So I really like to use those as much as possible. Teas and fermented drinks allow me to interact with the plants more. So they feel like they're more nourishing than tinctures because I'm getting to cultivate relationships with more beings, the plants that I'm putting in the teas or ferments, and the microbes that are doing the fermentation themselves. So for me, teas are a little bit more of a ritual self-care. They're more of like, they require more input from me, but I'm also getting more out of it. Tinctures feel like they're really good for urgent care, for emergency care, and for me right now for baseline medicine, primarily for my nervous system and my immune system. So I am a tea maker and herbalist, educator, medicine grower, medicine maker, activist, etc. And for me, I'm most passionate about herbal teas and herbal foods. And so this class is just kind of sharing what I've learned and what I do on a daily basis with myself and my family and my loved ones to bring pleasure into our lives in the form of teas and summer drinks. I just want to introduce myself a little bit more. This stream is coming from Bayfield, Wisconsin, occupied Anishinaabe territory, Lake Superior. I will be mostly talking about herbs and what we call menstruums. Menstruums are the liquid or fluid that conveys the medicine. I'll be sharing a little bit about the individual herbs as well that I like to drink this time of year to support my body, and then the herbal concoctions, potions. So I think before I begin with the demos, I want to just show you what I have to work with so that if you want to, you can listen to what I have here and then push pause and then go grab all of this stuff or whatever you can, and then come back and you can play as I'm doing this work. So today we're going to do Fizzy's, which is a fermented soda that is kind of one of my staples for all year round, but this time of year is a really nice time of year to be drinking the Fizzy's. They are a live drink that has lactobacillus and some wild yeast, but primarily lactobacillus. We're going to be doing Fizzy's. We're going to be doing Cordials, which are a flower ferment capturing the wild yeast from flowers. We're going to be doing this HerbalAid that I've been making lately, which is a great electrolyte drink. A punch, which is an alcoholic drink. Switchel, and then if we have time, which I'm not sure that we will, I want to talk a little bit about kombucha. So for the fizzy, we need fresh ginger root. We're going to be capturing the lactobacillus that's on the ginger root. We need some cane sugar. This is pretty much the only thing that I use cane sugar for, this and kombucha. So ginger and cane sugar to capture the wild yeast. And then we're going to need some raw honey. And then whatever herbs you like to use in your beverages. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So that's for the fizzy. And then for the cordial, we're also going to need cane sugar and vinegar. The vinegar that I'm using is this black currant vinegar that I made. I'll talk a little bit about how I made that later. We're also going to need lemon juice for the cordial. Cane sugar, vinegar, lemon juice, and some flowers, whatever flowers are blooming right now that are fresh. We're going to use milkweed flowers today. For the HerbalAid, vinegar, lemon juice, honey, and salt and water. For the punch, bottle of wine, a little bit of honey, some herbs, and water and lemon. For the Switchel, vinegar, honey, and water and herbs. So if you are going to go gather all those things, you press pause now, and I'm gonna get moving on the ginger bug. So Fizzy is an herbal drink that one of my teachers, the late Carol Jacobs, taught me how to make. Carol was a premier Lyme disease herbal specialist living in southern Minnesota. She put everything into the fizzy. I have kind of like my standard fizzies that I like to have around that are different from hers as far as the herbs that I put in. But this is just to know that like you can put many, many herbs in the fizzies. The herbs that I don't put in the fizzies are herbs that are liable to spoil, herbs, particularly herbs that are rich in protein. So nettle, raspberry leaf, clover, horsetail. I don't put these like really mineral rich, protein rich herbs into fizzies. I'm not sure if other herbalists do, but I don't. I like to focus on herbs that are rich in vitamin C and herbs that are aromatic. So herbs like hibiscus, sumac, lemon balm, lemongrass, anise hyssop, basil, rose hips, rose petals, ginger, herbs like those. My partner puts in fruit. I generally don't put in fruit, but today I did, so I'll crack that open in a minute. My partner also puts in juice, and I don't do juice. I just use honey. So right now I'm going to demo how to capture the ginger bug. So we're going to chop the ginger, the fresh ginger, into pretty, like, it's not minced. I'm not going to make it super finely chopped, pretty just roughly chopped. And I want 2 tablespoons, so 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped ginger. I don't measure, so I just do everything by feel and guess and estimation. I make sure that the ginger that I use is very fresh. As you can see, this ginger has a little has an eye on it. It's starting to sprout, which is not a problem. Ginger, when you buy it from the grocery store, is like put in the fridge, which actually can kill the ginger and definitely inhibits the lactobacillus that we want to be on it. So it's actually better to store ginger out of the fridge, because when ginger is stored out of the fridge, it is more likely to just be dormant. So ginger, it comes from a tropical place where when it's rainy and wet, or humid, it's going to start to sprout and then grow leaves. And then when it's dry and cool, it goes dormant. So I buy like a case of ginger in October, and then I just leave it out, and it's dormant all winter and full of the lactobacillus on the skin. The lactobacillus, we just want to make sure that what we're doing today, the ginger has lactobacillus on it. So if you buy ginger from like the store, if you buy it from the store, you want to make sure that it's fairly fresh and that it's not starting to mold, because then it's not going to have the right cultures on the skin. Ginger that's been sitting in the fridge at like a grocery store or co-op for a long time the lactobacillus is going to be dead. The ginger is going to be dead. So there's just going to be more prone to like pathogenic or like non-ideal bacteria and yeast on the skin. So we're really trying to get as fresh a ginger as possible. If you buy ginger from the co-op, organic ginger is important. Non-irradiated ginger is important. Again, we want it to be alive on the skin particularly. If you buy it from the co-op and it's been in the refrigerator, I would just take it and leave it on the counter for a couple days so that the bacteria wakes up. So when you put bacteria into a refrigerator, it like slows down and gets sluggish. And we want this bacteria to be really alive and vibrant so that it colonizes the liquid that we are putting that into very quickly. Otherwise, it is more likely to mold. So I will demo the next step. Which is to put the 2 tablespoons of ginger into a jar with 2 tablespoons of sugar. I use organic cane sugar. And again, I'm not measuring because it's not an exact science. And then I put in a cup of water. I added a cup of water. At this point, I'm going to cover it with a cloth, and I'm going to leave it on the counter. And every day, I'm going to add a tablespoon of ginger and a tablespoon of sugar. Eventually, there'll be bubbles on the surface, and that's when I know that I've captured the ginger bug. The ginger bug, like I said, is primarily lactobacillus. And so unlike kombucha or kefir, there is no mass, there's no SCOBY, there's no symbiotic culture of yeast and bacteria. The culture that we are collecting is just contained in the liquid. So when it starts to bubble, we know that the liquid contains the culture that we're trying to capture. At that point, we pour off the liquid, compost the ginger, and make our fizzy. This is a fizzy that I started a few days ago. I'm not sure if you can see the bubbles. Yeah, you can definitely see the bubbles up here. So the bubbles are the carbon dioxide, and that is what makes it fizzy. This is a natural carbon dioxide beverage, CO2. So like a soda or many sodas, well, all sodas, most beers are force carbonated with CO2. That CO2 structure is different than this structure. I have heard people saying that the CO2 in like a forced CO2 leaches the body of minerals. I've heard that this one doesn't. What I've noticed is that the feeling in my throat of this CO2 is very different from forced carbonated CO2. It feels like they're smaller molecules. Like sometimes when I drink a forced carbonated beer or soda, like it just feels scratchy going down. And this one isn't like that. So what's happening is that the lactobacillus is converting the sugars into carbon dioxide and other stuff. Eventually it'll convert it into alcohol. And then if you leave it out, then a yeast will convert the alcohol into vinegar. So I do use this culture to make alcohol and to make vinegar. So it's because it's wild, it's less controlled than like a cultivated yeast or a store-bought yeast. And I've definitely lost batches because of that lack of control. But for me, it's just easier to do it this way than to try to buy yeast and to do it that way, to make alcohol or vinegar. Okay, so I'm going to demo making the fizzy now. So I'm going to use a ½ gallon jar. I like to make them in big batches because I have a bunch of people in my family, and it's just easier for me to do big batches. And I'm going to use this fizzy to demo. So if this culture was fizzy and captured, then I would. Oh, we gotta go get a strainer. I would pour the liquid into a jar and compost the ginger. So I have my liquid in the jar, and I'm just going to demo it like this, just so that you see the process. So the recipe to make a gallon of fizzy that's fairly sweet is a pound of honey, an ounce of herb, a gallon of water. So remember, I said I don't measure. So, and a cup of culture. So this is the culture. Cup of culture, pound of honey, ounce of dried herb. I'll talk about fresh herb in a minute. So for a ½ gallon, it's okay if there's a little bit more culture. You don't want a lot of culture. I think up to a cup of culture for a ½ gallon is fine, which there's about a cup of culture in there. And then I'm going to put in a ½ pound of honey. This is a quart. There are 3 pounds of honey in a quart, so I'm going to put in 1/6 of a quart. So ½ pound of honey is about 2/3 of a cup, I think. Yeah. So I put my honey in there. I use raw honey. I use what I call extra virgin raw honey. Sometimes raw honey is heated so that it can go through a dispenser. This honey was heated with a lamp, but it's going to crystallize within days. So I buy honey directly from the apiary to make sure that I'm getting the rawest honey I can. I buy it in like 3 or 4 or 5 gallon buckets so that I'm getting a good deal. And I use a lot of honey because I also use honey in preparations, herbal preparations. So I'm using raw honey. I have a ½ cup of raw honey. I have a ½ pound of raw honey. I have a little bit more than a ½ cup of culture. Now I'm going to put in some herbs, and like I said, I like these aromatic herbs. So today I'm going to put in some lemongrass. And for this, it would be a ½ ounce. Again, I'm not measuring. I'm just doing it by sight. Lemongrass, hibiscus, pinch of lavender. Hibiscus is cooling, so really nice to drink this time of year. Lemongrass is warming, but that warming can help us to perspirate this time of year. So this is going to be lemongrass, hibiscus, and lavender. And then I'm going to fill it up with water. I have a friend that uses city water to make her herbal, to make her ferments. I definitely don't use city water. I don't feel like really strongly about not using city water. Like I just prefer not to use city water. I don't like the taste. I don't like the feel. I do like to go down to the well and get water, which is why I'm using that. So I haven't worked with city water enough to see how it works with ferments, but it does have, stuff in there to kill bacteria. So my friend said that she doesn't see any problem with using it. So I think it's safe to try. So that's it. Culture, honey, water, herbs. Now I'm going to put on a lid. I'm putting on an airtight lid, which is going to allow it to carbonate. And I'm going to leave it on the counter for probably a day and a half. When it's hot like this, it goes really quick. When it's cooler in the winter, it might take a couple days. So after a day, the lid there's going to be pressure on the lid. When I push down on it, I'll feel the pressure. There'll be bubbles on the top that show that it's done. And it'll be ready to jar. So, so it's a day with the herbs in it, and then it's a day with the herbs out of it. So I'm going to show you the next step. So this was like a strawberry sumac, rosehip, hibiscus soda. It smells really good. These strawberries were like not great for eating. They were like mushy but not moldy. And I was like, well, hey, I'll take this home and make a fizzy. So it smells strawberry and delicious. So using food that's like not great for eating but like not moldy and bad can be great this time of year. So I'm straining out the herbs and I'm going to compost them. And then I'm going to put the top on. I would like this to be like filled up more, so I'd probably add more liquid to this. It's airtight, so there's no herbs in here on the counter. So what you do with this is you'll take a cup of this, put it in a jar, add the honey, add the herb, add the water, and then you'll start a new batch. And then when that batch is complete, you reserve a cup of that liquid. If you're making a gallon, you reserve a cup of that liquid to make your next batch. So that's the fermented soda. And I think next I'll talk about the Switchel. because I was just remembering that I really love to add some vinegar to this to make the switchel. So this is one of the ways that I make switchel. There's a few different ways I make switchel. So one of the ways is I'll just take my fermented soda and I'll add a little bit of vinegar. So for this one, I'll add about 1/8 of a cup, which is 1 ounce, which is 2 tablespoons for a quart. So I'll just add some vinegar to the soda. So the soda is still fizzy, but it's vinegary. And that vinegar this time of year really helps to balance the body, to keep the body hydrated, to help you to feel a little bit cooler, to like kind of feel satiated this time of year when it's almost like too hot to eat. Yeah, that's perfect. So this is the soda with strawberry and blackcurrant vinegar. The soda is strawberry soda. The vinegar is blackcurrant vinegar. That's so delightful. I wish y'all could share it with me. Okay, so that's the first kind of switchel that I make. The second kind of switchel that I make is just to combine honey and vinegar and water. So I would just take a jar and a quart jar, put in 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 cups of sugar, which is all of that. A pint. And put in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, which is about 1 ounce, which is 1/8 of a cup. This is not apple. So 1/4 cup of lemon. A lot easier for me and I like because every flour has different amounts of yeast, different types of yeast, mycology going on. Going to be fermenting. So the reason why is that this culture is not captured in the liquid yet. So we're having to wake using that culture to create a drink. Unlike the ginger, this is all happening in one container, in one motion. So I'm going to put a lid, find a lid, put a lid on, put it on the counter for about 3 days. After about 3 days, so with the cordials, you can do different amounts of time. You can do different amounts of alcohol. You can also make a vinegar. I am not an expert in using a cordial to make alcohol vinegar. I can put a link to a friend who is. But just having it as a summer drink can be really wonderful. As like a drink that runs for 3, 4, 5 days. So that's what I said. I'm going to put this lid on and put it aside for a few days. So let's see. Um, those are the drinks that I wanted to do today. If you have questions, you can reach out, and if need be, I can create another video to address those questions. Comments that are posted, I appreciate you for joining me today. As I practice learning how to classes on YouTube Live rather than in classrooms, which is what I've been doing up to now. So yes, feel free to put comments, message. Please share this video, and I am also looking for support in creating transcripts for these classes that we can, so they can be accessible to more people. So seeking volunteer support that, and